Did you know that approximately 80% of Americans are currently in debt?
Which was problematic.
And shockingly, this actually extends into Christians as well, with about half of Americans identifying as evangelicals, of course. That is a pressing issue that affects not only our financial well-being, but our spiritual lives as well. As believers, we're called to be stewards of our finances and to do so wisely. It's essential to heed to Christ's teachings on money and when it comes to practical steps towards being a great steward. In today's complex financial landscape, many Christians are grappling with debt and uncertainty. You have Dave Ramsey on one side who is telling people do not take any debt. And then you have a lot of folks on the other side of the table that's saying there is good debt, there is bad debt, there is ways to use debt. So Christians, I feel like, are kind of stuck in this middle and they have no idea what to do or even how to do it. The good thing though is that the Bible always offers timeless wisdom on money management and guiding believers towards becoming good stewards. Drawing from insights found in a book called A Random Walk Down Wall Street by economist Burton Malkiel, I want to talk about financial wisdoms that come from this book, what we can do with this book and how to engage it, and all of it with a biblical perspective. So why should you listen to me? Well, I have over a decade of experience in marketing, advertising, and including a lot of collaborations with folks that you actually know. Kendall Jenner, Kevin Jonas, Grant Cardone. And look, I've developed essentially an eye on being creative and identifying lucrative opportunities. I'm also kind of a bored person, and that leads me to being a busy bee because I'm always trying different things. But as a devoted father, husband, and of course a Christian, I understand the importance of managing our resources, our time, our money wisely to secure a brighter future for our families and generations to come. And of course, all of it while honoring God in the meantime. My journey towards, becoming a good steward, which I'm on, of course, has equipped me with a lot of valuable insights, which I'm eager to share with you today and across this entire channel. So thank you for tuning in. So in this book, one of the things we see, and it's the number one thing, it's avoid get-rich-quick schemes. It's not that hard to make money in the market. What is hard is to avoid the alluring temptation to throw money away because of an expectation to get rich quick. Malkiel's insights on this highlights the dangers of impulsive financial decisions driven by the desire for quick wealth. We actually see this highlighted all across scripture, but Proverbs 21:5 tells us very specific, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. When we're talking about get rich quick schemes, there is a lot involved. It's not just the opportunities where people think like, yeah, I would never fall for it, but a lot of people do. I'll give you an example. One of, in my head, a get rich quick scheme is when people have absolutely no idea how to do anything in the stock market. And then they see that Bitcoin is at an all-time high and that it's going to continue climbing. It's going to be worth $1 million each. So then what do? They buy it. And then after a couple of months, Bitcoin crashes and then they sell it. You just ended up losing a ton of money. And then they continue repeating the cycle where they're buying high and selling low instead of it being the other way around because of a couple of factors. One, there is a sense of ego and pride where you don't want to miss out. And at the same time, there is another aspect of like, hey, peer pressure, everyone's doing it. All my friends are doing it. They're talking about it. So like, let me just jump in. Both things need to kind of be dealt away with. So you need to invest long-term. And the other aspect of things is do your homework and your due diligence on a lot of these investments. Don't just do it because of the hype, right? If you look back at like the GameStop saga, then you will obviously know there are market movers in some of these communities, but it's one of the very few times it's happened in the history of the markets. It is an exception, not a rule. So instead of succumbing to the human greed that we have and obviously the impatience, follow a disciplined long-term investment strategy that's rooted in prudence and diligence. Finance tip number 2, embrace investing for long-term growth. And he says this, I view investing as a method of purchasing assets to gain profit in a form of reasonably predictable income that's appreciated over the long term. That's his definition of what it means to invest over the long term. Investing with a long-term perspective aligns with biblical principles of stewardship and of course patience. Just as Proverbs 13:11 says, dishonest money dwindles away, but Whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. By adopting a patient and disciplined approach to investing, we can honor God's provision and trust that His faithfulness is going to provide for our needs today as well as tomorrow. Keep in mind that when we're talking about this, there needs to be investing happening. So one of the components even before this is you need to be investing. If you're not having enough money left over to invest, please feel free to reach out, drop a comment below. I will send you my biblical budgeting guide. It's a very long and comprehensive ebook I put together, but I'm happy to send that to you because if you don't have money left over, it's either a budget issue, it's either you're spending too much money or you're not making enough money. You need to tackle both of those things. But investing is definitely something that Christians need and should be doing. Finance tip number 3, practice diligent saving. Kind of goes back to what I just said. He says this: put time on your side. Start saving early and do it regularly. Live modest and don't touch the money that's been set aside.
My money, my money.
Malkiel's advice underscores the importance of disciplined saving, living within our means. This aligns with the biblical teachings, of course, on financial stewardship. We go back into the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs 21:20 advises, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. So ultimately, by prioritizing savings, avoiding unnecessary expenses, we demonstrate faithfulness in managing the resources that God has entrusted to us. Keep in mind that most Americans don't have $1,000 saved for an emergency.
Save it, Dad.
Save it? Save what?
So when that emergency happens, what do they have to do? It's either a credit card, so you go to the ATM, you got to pull money out. And typically when you do that, it's going to trigger a clause in your contract that says, hey, we're going to hike our rates from 16, 18% to 25% for something like this. And then you still have to pay it back, of course. Also, there's a lot of other books out there that talks about prioritizing paying yourself first. And what that really means is before you get into paying rent and all of your bills, spending money on food, etc., one of the things you have to do is set money aside for future you. So put that money aside into a 401k, an investment vehicle of some sort. Finance tip number 4, value true worth over temporary gain, right? So the greatest of all gifts is the power to estimate things at their true worth. This quote reminds us of the importance of essentially like having discernment over the value amidst this allure of worldly wealth. Similar to what Jesus teaches us in Matthew 6, do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. Our priority is obviously our eternal treasure. So you don't want to jeopardize your heavenly treasure for some momentary, earthly glory, let's call it, or earthly riches. It reminds me of the story that Jesus tells us where a man finds a treasure in the field and then he hides it again, runs home, sells everything that he's have because he wants to acquire this treasure. And what that means is we should be willing to essentially let go of everything because we have something that is ultimately more important. If I asked you today, right, why would you trade, here's $1, why don't you give me $1 million in 10 years for it? I'm gonna give you $1 today just because you need it. Well, that's not worth it. It's just not a good trade. And that's what I see a lot of Christians doing. One of two things ends up happening. One, they focus way too much on money and, money essentially becomes their God over our Heavenly Father, of course. Or the other thing is they just continue living in poverty because they don't believe that there's anything in their hands that they could ever do that they're called to live in poverty, let's call it. Both of them are mistakes. And there's something that we can do so that we can assist other people. I always go back to this, but if you are a father, it's likely you might be putting some money away for your kids' tuitions, right? And when they get to college. One of the things that really blew my mind is I was watching Beverly David speak. And one of the things he said was, look, it's great if I'm wealthy enough to put my kids through college. But what if the Lord has called me to put 100 kids through college or hundreds of kids who don't have the ability to do this themselves? And that's what God's calling me to do. Not just my kids, but to worry about all of these other kids. As Christians, I think our mission is a lot bigger than, let me just barely put bread on the table. Food for thought. Finance tip number 5. So obviously prioritize, in kind of the same line with number 4, but prioritize the long-term investment over the speculation. Speculation, buy stocks hoping for a short-term gain. An investor buys stock likely to produce a dependable future stream of cash flow returns and capital gains when measured over years or decades. One of the GOATs when it comes to investing is obviously Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has made his billions or most of his net worth over the last few years. You know, it essentially that compound effect of him owning so many shares of Coca-Cola, the stock growing, him holding it, the stock growing, repeat and repeat. It's what Albert Einstein said, that one of the Earth's greatest phenomenon. What is it? Compounding effect. Rather than chasing quick profits through speculative trading, specifically, investors should adopt the patient long-term approach. So I want to share a story here, but I started getting into algorithmic trading a couple of months ago, almost a year ago actually. And all of the charts look really good, that this bot would place orders, set up stop losses, and then exit. On and off, it hit, it didn't hit, it hit, it didn't hit. Some months it actually would do incredibly well. Other months, you know, not so much.
No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
But ultimately, after about 8 months, I ended up losing about $13,000 using this algorithm. One of the reasons I was trying to find another way of passive income, and having an algorithm was great. So I stopped the Turo business. If you guys saw my previous videos, I dabbled in Turo, and then I stopped Turo because of just such a big investment. And then I put that money towards this algorithm. The algorithm lost me money. So now I'm on to the next means of trying to create some sort of passive income. But fundamentally, every time I try to break away from these biblical principles of like, hey, just be patient, be diligent, it leads to this. And I'm sharing this with you guys. This cost me $13,000. It could have cost me a lot more, but by the grace of God, you kind of have to know when to pull the trigger. Finance tip number 6, exercise caution with IPOs. If you don't know what an IPO is, it's essentially when a company decides to go public. So I remember very specifically one of the most crashed and burned IPOs was Facebook's. Morgan Stanley executed that in like 2012 or 2014 or something. And because I work very closely with financial advisors, I knew a lot of them wanted to offer that to their clients. They did. A couple of moments after, you know, the stock crashed, people end up losing a lot of money because a lot of employees, people who own shares, want to cash out. They don't really want to hold it. So then they're cashing out. Investors are trying to buy some. It just becomes a mess. Ultimately, avoid it. And here's what he says about it. So Malkiel says, and if you buy the new issue after it starts changing, usually at a higher price, you're actually certain to lose. This cautionary tale advises exactly what the proverb says in Proverbs 22:3. It says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Investing in IPOs after they begin trading at inflated prices, of course, often lead to a lot of financial losses. You should be patient. If it's a company that you believe in, if you've done your research in, then potentially look for an entry point other than the IPO. Finance tip number 7, and this is one of the most important ones. Recognize the impact of age on risk tolerance. One's capacity for risk bearing depends importantly upon one's age and ability to earn income from non-investment sources. Ultimately, to simplify this, what he's saying is like, look, the younger you are, the more risk you can take, because if you end up losing a lot of money, then you can make that money back. As you get older in life, you need to reevaluate your portfolio so that your risk tolerance is adapting and evolving with it. So an older person might not have a lot of growth ETFs, might not have a lot of small cap companies, whereas a younger person definitely should. It reminds me of Ecclesiastes 3:1 that says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. I did a video a while back on how you should be investing for specific ages and stages of your life. I'm going to link that video above if you want to check it out. Just don't forget, it's essential to rebalance your portfolio as your life changes, whether it's, financial stability, more security, you got different kids, you're moving, new job, whatever your life stage is and responsibility, you need to rebalance your portfolio. So ultimately, guys, by integrating some of these finance tips with biblical principles, you should be able to navigate the complexities of modern finance with a lot more wisdom and discernment. And again, as Christians, we're called to, and I feel like I bang on this a lot, but to be good stewards of our finances. And we can do that, obviously, with the guidance of the Lord, honoring Him consistently. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.